Y'all make some noise for Michael Chan.
Oh, man. All right, we good? Good, good. Everyone can hear me? Sick. Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Chan, or Chantastic, and this whole silent conference thing is maybe the weirdest thing that I've ever experienced in my entire life. So, bear with me. Got a lot of nerves. A little bit awkward right now, but I'm happy to be here with you. Now, I want to tell you right up front, this is not a technical talk, so if you were here hoping for a technical talk from me, this is not it, and I want to give you an opportunity to go to one of the other talks if you're looking for some technical content. Today, I really just want to talk about career and grind and kind of what it's come to mean to me over the last 7 years. So if that sounds good, stick around. I'm really excited to be here, and I was really excited that Justin invited me because this is a little bit of a homecoming for me to come back to Atlanta. I've never lived in Atlanta. I've only been here one time before, but that time was in 2015 when I got to speak at RailsConf. I just got super nervous about my fly. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm good. Real talk, real talk. Okay. So yeah, so I was here in 2015 to talk at a RailsConf, and at that RailsConf I was talking about React, which was like pretty new at the time. So I was talking about React at conferences in 2015, and I just want to zoom in on this slide just a little bit. So not only was I talking about React, I was talking about React on Rails using create class in CoffeeScript. So like if you want like my resume in React, like I've been doing this for a long time. I should probably like take everything I've learned about Web3 and like sell that as an NFT or something like that. But I want to rewind just a little bit and talk about how I got into tech and kind of what that moment 7 years ago really meant for me at the time, and kind of what it means for me even still today. So now, like all things, like this kind of comes back to my dad. And I really, like, this is a very strange thing to be talking on a technical stage about daddy issues, but we all got them, so I'm gonna be honest. So my dad was like a hustler, hardcore hustler. He had this wild upbringing. He and his family lived in Vietnam, and they fled the Vietnam War to Brazil. And from there, he immigrated to the United States. And this man was a legend, like absolute legend. He hustled harder than anybody else I've ever known. I never saw the man sleep. I have no memories of him sleeping, ever. He was always up before me and went to bed after me. No matter how crazy things got. Like I was going out to like college parties and he's still on the phone with Skype talking to China or like Vietnam or Malaysia or whatever. This man was nuts. And so it was like really weird. It's really weird to see all of that kind of go away pretty quickly when his health started to decline. So he pushed a little too hard, and he kind of developed some like chronic kidney failure. And you know, for the last like 10 years of his life, he was kind of spent like half of his days like in bed connected to a dialysis machine. And it's so crazy to see someone that powerful decline in such an impressive way so quickly. And I know a lot of us have similar experiences like that with our family, where we've seen someone go from this giant to needing to be cared for and requiring a different type of relationship from us. Now, the reason I say that is because like he always had this dream that we were going to build this business, all of us together as a family, and we were going to work in it, and I was working with him, and honestly most of the time he was more my boss than my dad. But all of that kind of came, this business was so like wrapped up around him that at that time that his health declined, well, the business started to fail as well. And that's actually what got me into tech. I really needed to like find something to do to support my family and like figure out how to like kind of like pull the pieces of my life back together. Man, this talk is totally gonna go long, and I feel bad, I apologize in advance. So anyway, so that moment kind of came in 2013. There was a big convergence of a lot of things that were happening in my life. So React came out, and for whatever reason, I was like at the forefront of this wave that was going to be just crazy big. And but like at the same time, there was another kind of big chaotic element that came into my life. My daughter was born that same year that I really started to kind of like pick up steam in my career in technology. And she was born with a ton of really crazy health stuff. She was born 3 months early to start, so we spent 3 months right off the bat in the hospital. I got a new job, new career, and we were just living in the hospital. And then after that, we finally get out of the hospital for that, and we find out that she is also like diagnosed with a kind of rare cancer called retinoblastoma. And through the course of her treatment over the next like handful of years, it took all of the vision from her right eye. So we're just like really living hard at this point. But I really don't want to give up on this opportunity that I have in my life to really like find the next thing. Like, I don't want to give up on me yet, right? I want to like see what I can do. And so I kept pushing, and I kind of followed suit with what my dad taught me, which was just like, there's 24 usable hours in the day. Like, so you can be dad during the day and you can hustle at night. And so I did that until about 2015. So until about 2015, where I gave that React Conf talk. And just a week before that, I developed Shingles. Does anyone know what Shingles is? Has anyone had it? No? No? Okay. Yes. Okay. Shingles is rough. Okay, so what it is effectively you get chicken pox at some point in your life or whatever, and then that disease, the virus lives dormant in your spinal column for a really long time. Now, usually what happens is as you get older, like kind of, you know, this all starts to weaken, and so then it finds a way out into your body, but it can also be caused by, you can also get it by a lot of stress. And so I was like definitely stressing myself out. And so I am going to my brother's birthday party one night, and it just feels like someone took a butter knife, shoved it between these two ribs, and just was twisting like two of my ribs apart. And that pain lasted for like 2 weeks. It was absolutely nuts. But it kind of put me in this position where I kind of had to decide like who I was going to be, what was going to be the most important thing to me, and what was going to be able to fall away. And so I remember talking with my therapist, and he said something that just totally just floored me. I said, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I have this once in a lifetime opportunity to build this career in tech, this wave that's just like taking off right now. Like, am I supposed to just let that go? And he reframed the question for me and said, no, but what will you do with the once in a lifetime opportunity that you have to be a dad and a husband and develop those relationships with the people that you love? And that just hit me like a ton of bricks, because I knew what that tape looked like. You know, I had that relationship with my dad where the only thing that we talked about really was like business or opportunities and what was coming up and what was in the future. And I don't really have a lot of memories of us being together and us enjoying a moment together. And so for me, it was just a really obvious choice. Like, you know what? I'm gonna choose my family. Now I want to, oops, sorry. Oh, bad timing. Okay, so this resulted in this kind of overcorrection for me. So I'd seen entrepreneurship my entire life, and then I kind of like overcorrected into this like, okay, well, I'm just gonna be like, you know, company man, I'm gonna put in the time, whatever, and then just like get, focus on my life, all of the things that I want. Now, I want to hold up here just a second, because I know that a lot of times we can tend to moralize like certain decisions, especially ones around family. And like, I want to be clear that this was the right decision for me. I know plenty of people make the opposite decision, and like, I'm not saying one is good or bad or the other. I'm just saying I had to sit down with myself and evaluate all of the things that I wanted. So we're going to talk about this line. I said at the beginning we were going to talk about a line, and this is that line. Now, if anyone has, you know, seen any of my talks before, I kind of, my brain just works in geometry and specifically circles. So this line isn't actually a line. If you zoom out, this line is a representation of an intersection. And so all of my, like at that point in my life, I was really thinking about my career as this line. I was going to start, and I was gonna like just kind of like continue on, maintain until like, you know, whatever, I don't know, I die or whatever. And then I realized that like through living that way, that life is a little bit more complicated than that, and things, there is no kind of like end stage where everything just kind of like stays the same. And so I think about this intersection as what you've got and what you want. And if you pull these two lines a little bit, you kind of get this channel, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of a grinder. So does anyone into coffee? Anyone like kind of like brew their own coffee or get coffee out? Okay, I think I've exhausted the hands up because I know a lot more of you who then raised your hand to drink coffee. So the interesting thing, like, so I got into coffee for a while, and like I was asking all my friends, like, okay, so what do I do? And the common advice that everybody said was like, the most important thing in coffee is the grinder. If you have whatever your budget is, spend 90% of it on the grinder, and then like whatever, the coffee will be fine no matter how you brew it. And so I think a lot about my life in terms of channeling everything that I have into something productive, because you can't just like throw raw beans into water, hot water, and hope that everything works out. So I started to think about my career as this kind of channeling of like what I want, working in tandem with what I have right now. Now, this is actually a really dangerous time, and I want to kind of put a caveat on this, is that something that is challenging for us right now at this time in life is that we have so many things trying to convince us what we want. I feel like we are more advertised to, more convinced than ever before by the algorithms telling us who we need to be, like what we need to like, what we need to be into, and when we need to be into it. And so we really need to figure out what our grind is. What is it that works for us? It's not going to be one thing or the other. Everything needs to be balanced. We've got to find out what it is that we want from our own lives. Okay, so that's the way that I think about it. So something that I have learned is that life is a fight against force. Like this is our nature. We're always fighting against some kind of force, whether that be, oh my gosh. I'm skipping ahead because I've never used this type of thing. Whether that be gravity, friction, or drag. And our nature is to defy it. We get fast cars because we want to defy friction. We try as often as we can to go up into space because we want to defy gravity. And our creation even is a fight against the forces of entropy in our life. Now, I want to do a little like group experiment, and you all have to participate. The reason is because we are exquisite, we are unique, we are magical. And I want you to say that to yourself right now. I want you to say that. I know for some of you it's hard. It's hard for me, but not anymore. Okay, so like, not stand, just sit with me for a second and say this to yourself. Say, I am exquisite. Yes, awesome. Let's do it one more time, because I know that some of you don't quite believe it yet. I want you to say it again. I am exquisite. I love you. You're awesome. Thank you for participating. Now, this is our problem, is the fact that we are exquisite. And our nature is to only want the things that are better, harder, faster, stronger. We're always on that chase for something. And unfortunately, it means that we're always going to have some level of low-key disappointment in our life. No matter what we achieve, no matter what we get, no matter what we collect, it's always going to be there wanting more. Dissatisfaction is our nature. And so if dissatisfaction is our nature, we need to figure out how to harness it and not be governed by it and not be taken advantage of through it. So, how we grind matters, who we grind for matters, and what we're grinding towards matters. But grind itself is not bad. And grind isn't always about getting. It can be about giving. And I think something that I really love about this conference in particular is this focus on culture and community and creation and doing something that isn't just for a paycheck, but that satisfies us, that fulfills our duty to the people in our life to do something more, to do something bigger, to support others in a way that we need also to be supported at times. Because I think that when you're in that mode of just like get, eventually you will burn out. And it's going to be, it could be anything. It could be burnout of your desire. It could be burnout of your reputation, of your relationships. At some point, the bill will come due. Now, I want to talk about bad grind for a second, and I want to talk about maybe one of like the biggest grind scams ever, and I think that this is company grind. This is super uncomfortable for me to talk about, but I feel like it's a really important part of this talk in general. As you navigate your career, companies will try to convince you of a mission that they want you to be part of. But the interesting thing is they will convince you with the things that you actually bring to the table. They'll talk about community, they'll talk about culture, they'll talk about the product and the things that you're gonna build together. But the thing that's fascinating, and took me way too long to learn, is that they are selling me what I bring to the table. And I want you to all think about that for a second. Like all of those things that people are that a company is trying to entice you with is what you bring to the table. I am the culture. I am the community. I am the communicator. I am bringing all of those things. I'm building the product. I'm building all of these things to the table. So I had this moment where I read the cheesiest book ever. Has everyone heard of this book, 4-Hour Workweek? Yeah. It's man, that title is just a scam, right? Or that's what I thought, right? So I buy this book. I'm super unhappy in my career because I'm thinking about my career as a flat line. And I'm like, okay, so I gotta hold on to this job so I can keep my insurance and protect my family and do all this kind of stuff. I'm just gonna turn off everything that I care about, everything that I'm excited about, everything that I want in life for me. And so I read this book, I don't know why, it was just divine. I was just walking through, I was like, yeah, I'll try 4-Hour Workweek, whatever. I can't, what'll it hurt? Okay. So this, the premise is really interesting, right? Tim Ferriss, he decides that he doesn't want to, work anymore, so he gets a remote job, and he just kind of reduces his hours to 4 hours a week, right? That's ridiculous, but I'm unhappy, so I'm gonna give myself a raise. I'm tired of waiting for someone else to give me a raise or a promotion for the work that I've been doing and was promised to me. I'm gonna give myself a raise, and I'm gonna start with 10 hours, and that's gonna be my stress tax. Stress tax. And so I started with 10 hours. And you know what? Nobody noticed that I wasn't there for that 10 hours. And so I was like, man, that's crazy. How can we, how far can we, thank you for hearing me right now. And that's crazy, nobody noticed? That's 10 hours? But I mean, at the time I went from 60 to 50, right? So it's yeah, people aren't gonna notice. So I'm okay, whatever, let's bring it back down. Let's get it back down to 40. Let's get a reasonable amount. So I take it all the way down to 40. Nobody noticed. I'm okay, so why don't I take this further? And here's the craziest thing. I took it all the way down to 4 hours. And that was nuts for me. It was nuts for me. I was like, man, oh man, this is absolutely insane that this is possible. Now, this is not something that I advocate. And unless you're dreadfully happy the way that I was, I don't think that this is a good strategy for success. But it really taught me something that I needed to learn for me. And it taught me that this company wasn't interested in me showing up. They were interested in my work showing up. And so if I could just do that in a handful of hours, they didn't want me. They didn't want me bringing myself to those meetings and kind of disrupting what was easy and convenient and whatever. Just the kind of the easy path. They didn't want me to show up. And so it occurred to me, with all of this extra free time, I could play video games, which is my, program right now, or I could figure out what it is that I want. What is it that I want to be moving towards? What do I want to be grinding toward? And what do I want the next thing to look like for me? Now, the crazy thing is that, who's watched Office Space? Okay, cool. So Office Space, this is a really good, maybe like supplementary content for this talk. Office Space, I don't know, hero, I guess, in the story, is kind of does that same thing where he just like basically stops working, and then everyone starts being like, oh man, like you're the type of person that we're looking for, and then like keeps giving him promotions. And so the funny thing is that like I didn't get a promotion the whole time I was working 60 hours, and I got my promotion when I was working 4 hours a week. I almost didn't show up to the meeting where they told me I was going to be getting more money. So what I realized is that you need to know where you're going in life. You need to figure out what it is that you want and not worry so much about how quickly you get there. But you need to start outputting the things that you want to see in your life. And you need to start doing the things that you are about. The problem is I'd let myself get to a point where I was miserable because I wasn't doing the things that I'm about, and I had set myself up to like constantly be feeling that failure of like, I want to be moving here, and having someone else tell me like, well, you can't, we're not going to let you do that. So what's this all about? I told you a bunch of stuff about me, and very uncomfortable for me, but told you a bunch of stuff about me, and what does this mean for all of us? Well, I think that grind is good if you apply it in the right way. And I think that my, formula, oh man, I'm really having a hard time with this clicker thing. The map that I'll show you up again in a second, I think that grind is good, but a lot of times we get it twisted with some of the things that we hear about hustle and grinding and like crushing it and like doing all this, like just working like 24 hours a day to get the things that we want for us so we can get. And I don't think that that's what it's about. There's a healthy grind that we can find. And that grind is about you. It's about the direction that you're moving in your life more than the outcomes that you're trying to get in your life. The outcomes will come if you focus on making sure that you are doing the work that represents you, the work that you are on this planet to achieve. So, talked about this line and how it was how I thought about my career. But then I started to realize how this is a momentary intersection. My relationships in general, but especially with work, are not some type of continuum that's gonna go all the way until I like hit retirement, and it's gonna be safe and easy and I'm gonna be fulfilled the whole time. At pretty much every intersection, there's going to be a point where I move along this line or the company moves along this line. And the lesson that I wish that I had learned faster is to know where I am going so that I could fail faster to get there and not waste a lot of time along the way just wishing that something could change or waiting for someone else to tell me that it was going to change if I just put in a little bit more effort or I grind a little bit harder or suppress this part of my personality and the things that I wanted to see in that work. The hard part about being someone who is living in their own creation is that dissatisfaction is the cost of creativity. And that's just a fact. No matter what you create, there's always going to be something better that you want to create. No matter what you build, there's going to be something bigger that you want to build. And that is a good thing. It drives us, but a lot of times we can be swayed by it. And I think that we get confused thinking that if I want anything, that I want everything. And that's not true. I think that we can find a balance where we're creating, we're living in community, we're supporting, we're doing the things that we want in small ways. I want you to use that energy to build up you. And like no effort is too small. So like for me, there was this moment where I was like, okay, cool. So these are the constraints. I got my family, like we have these challenges ahead of us. I got all of this career potential that I want to invest in. I know that I can't choose either thing, but how do I start up that engine again, the side of the things that I want to do, the side that I want to like build and create in. And I found ways that I could do it. I didn't have a studio, so I couldn't do YouTube. I didn't have, I really couldn't fly around the world because, I had all of my obligations to make sure that we were like getting good care for my kids. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start a podcast. I can do that anywhere. There's no video involved. I just need a microphone. And it took a very little amount of time for me to be able to do that. And in that, I developed so many relationships along the way. People who were encouraging me to like step out and do what I could do. And partnering with them has been amazing. We had like 90 plus unique guests on that show, over 123 episodes. And many of them are here today, and they're some of my most beloved people in my life. And it feels like coming full circle to have done that, and then to be invited from Justin, who was a guest on my show, to this amazing conference, and to be able to talk about the power of just making small bets on yourself along the way. So I just want to leave you with a question. Where are you going? Where are you headed? What is it that you want, and what small changes in your life are you willing to make that happen? Now I'm going to read you something real quick. I'm going to close with this. It'll take, I don't know, a couple minutes, but I want to read this to you. It's from my favorite book called Hell Yeah or No. I recommend it, get it. And so let's read this. It's called Relax for the Same Result. A few years ago, I lived in Santa Monica, California, right on the beach. There's a big bike path that goes along the ocean for 7.5 miles, so 15 miles round trip. On weekday afternoons, it's almost empty. It's perfect for going full speed. So a few times a week, I'd get on my bike and go as fast as I could for the 15-mile loop. Really full on, 100%. 100% head down, red face sprinting. I'd finish exhausted, and look at the time, 43 minutes every time. Maybe a minute more on a really windy day, but basically always 43 minutes. After a few months, I noticed I was getting less enthusiastic about the bike ride. I think I'd mentally linked it to being completely exhausted. So one day, I decided I would do the same ride, but just chill. Take it easy, nice and slow. Okay, not super slow, but dialing it back to about 50% of my usual effort. And what a nice ride. I was relaxed and smiling and looking around. I was barely giving it any effort. I saw 2 dolphins in the water. A pelican flew over me in Marina Del Rey. And when I looked up to say, wow, he shit in my mouth. I can still remember the taste of digested shellfish. I had to laugh at the novelty of it. I'm usually so damn driven, always doing everything as intensely as I can. It was so nice to take it easy for once. I felt I could do this forever without any exhaustion. When I finished, I looked at the time, 45 minutes. Wait, what? How could that be? Yep, I double checked, 45 minutes as compared to my usual 43 minutes. So apparently, all of that exhaustion, red-faced, full-on, push, push, push I had been doing had given me only a 4% boost. I could have just taken it easy. I could just take it easy and get 96% of the results. And what a difference in experience to go the same distance in about the same time, but one way leaves me exhausted and the other way rejuvenated. I think of this often. When I notice that I'm all stressed out about something or driving myself to exhaustion, I remember that bike ride and I try dialing back my effort by 50%. It's been amazing how often everything gets done just as well and just as fast with what feels like half the effort. Which then makes me realize that half of my effort wasn't effort at all, but just unnecessary stress that made me feel like I was doing my best. Anyway, I hope you read that. This is an amazing book. I'm Chan. Thanks for listening to me today. I love you.